Let's talk now, though, about Princess Diana, about Netflix, about Harry and Meghan, and who better to talk to than Angela Levin, journalist and royal biographer, of course. Angela, a very, very good morning to you.
Hello.
Well, we may or may not have a government, but we can still talk about the royal family, because the front page of The Sun this morning, a very interesting story for me, Crown Diana crash outrage. You know, people have accused the Crown and its producers of going a bit too far before, but they're now saying this really oversteps the mark by kind of making an episode about the final days of Diana. And my thought about it initially, Angela, I'm sure you share my thought on this, was how can Prince Harry, with all of the bleating he does about his mother being exploited and, you know, his mother's death causing him all sorts of mental health and anguish, how can he counsel taking money from the same company, Netflix, which is making this documentary for him, but also making The Crown and sensationalising his own mother's death?
Yeah, well, you've anticipated what I think, of course. My suggestion to him, which I know he won't listen to, but nonetheless I'll say it, is that he should withdraw totally from the documentary he's done with Netflix, who want to put it on television immediately after The Crown. So it's like a double whammy on the royal family. And he should give them back their money. Yeah. Now, all he has to do is persuade Meghan to this, which is not going to be easy. But it will make him more of a hero, and I think he would long to be a hero. The alternative is that he could sue them for breaking privacy. I imagine, I don't know, that they might well show him walking behind his mother's coffin along with William, which he told me nobody should allow. It was disgusting and terrible invasion in his life. And that's one of the things that he feels every single day. I mean, he said that even the click of a camera reminds him of the horror of losing his mother. Yeah. So I think, you know, he's very keen on privacy. He's very keen on suing other people who he feels aren't observing his privacy. So he should try and sue Netflix. He's got plenty of money. He's worth about 16
And he
million.
does like a lawsuit, doesn't he?
He does like a lawsuit. So there we are. They're my two suggestions, which you may well laugh. But there we are.
Well,
but
the other thing I was going to ask you about was the stories that were sort of circulating over the weekend. In fact, it was in American newspapers, I think, that I saw them first, that apparently Meghan and Harry have been complaining about their treatment at the Queen's funeral.
Well, this is very significant as well. They felt that they weren't welcomed enough. Now, are they going to be thought about between up to 10, that you'll get 9 if you're very welcoming, and 3? I mean, what is that? It wasn't about him. It was about his grandmother. I mean, they are so obsessed with themselves that they can't actually step back and see it all together. And why should they actually give him huge welcomes when he's been so rude about them? The extra trouble is that he's writing a new chapter for his memoirs, which will include, well, it will be about his grandmother's funeral. If that's not going to be an invasion of privacy, you know, I'll eat bananas. You know, I find it so difficult to work out what's now going on his head. What's going on in his head? What's fine for him is not fine for others, and he can't actually extricate himself from anything. But this thing about showing Diana, and I believe it's going to be right up to the end. Of course, they don't know exactly the moments of her death, but they're supposed to be trying to do that. They refuse to put something at the front to say this is fiction and not fact. So what's going to happen is that William will be devastated. Harry won't like it, but he'll probably keep it quiet, because if he's earning the money and doesn't want to turn it back, he won't want to make a fuss. But actually it will also attack King Charles in a way that is so brutal. He was upset. He was desperately upset. And he's just begun, he's got much more popularity now. He's still grieving, and he's going to be, have the coronation in next year. And it'll also slip through to Camilla that it's her fault too. And I think that that's just a terrible thing to do. And only people who wanted to destroy the royal family would actually have the nerve to do that.
Yes, and how ironic that Prince Harry is working for them and is in many ways complicit in their attempts at destroying the very family that he claims that he wants to still remain a part of, even though he doesn't want to do any work.
Yes, well, that's right. I mean, he's involved in it up to his eyeballs, really. But he will only do it if it suits him. And if money involves, his priority, especially if it has to ask Meghan, is money. You know, that's the problem. And otherwise, he could walk away and say, well, you know, you're not going to get my documentary.
He doesn't need the money, after all. But she obviously never thinks enough money is enough. So there we are.
You see, they do need the money, because in Montecito, I was just looking this up yesterday, they're seen as quite paupers, because people like Oprah is worth 2 billion pounds.
Right.
But he's only worth 60. So
60 million, not even.
But Meghan is somebody who wants to be in the lead and wants more money than anybody else. So.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Angela, good to talk to you as ever. Thank you very much indeed. Journalist, royal biographer. Latest book, of course, Camilla, From Outcast to Queen Consort.